take a seat, Kelly Mercer.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and guests. On December 1st, 1955, at 6 p.m., a seamstress named Rosa Parks boarded the Cleveland Avenue bus in downtown Montgomery, Alabama. She paid her fare, and then she walked to the back of the bus. And she took a seat in the first row of seats that were in the colored section. They were directly behind the first 10 rows of seats that were reserved for the white passengers. The bus driver was a gentleman named James Blake. Incidentally, this is the same bus driver who left Rosa standing in the rain back in 1943. As the bus went along its route, all of the seats for the white passengers filled up, and 2 or 3 white men were left standing. And the bus drivers had adopted a practice of requiring the black passengers to give up their seats when there were white passengers standing. And that's what Mr. Blake did. He pulled the bus over, and he got up, and he stomped to the back of the bus, and he said, "Y'all better make it easy on yourselves and let me have 4 of your seats." 3 of the passengers complied. And one was a gentleman that was sitting next to Rosa in the seat by the window. When he got up, Rosa just slid over into his seat. Mr. Blake looked at her, and he said, "Why don't you stand up?" Rosa said, "I don't think I should have to." Mr. Blake said, "Well, if you don't stand up, I'm going to have to call the police." Very calmly, Rosa looked at him and said, "You may do that." A police officer came to arrest Rosa, and as he was putting the handcuffs on her, she said, "Why do you all have to be so mean to us?" And very truthfully, he said, "I don't know. But the law's the law, and you're under arrest." And as she was being driven away in the back of that police car, Rosa said that she knew it would be the very last time she would ever have to ride in humiliation again. Rosa was charged with a violation of Chapter 6, Section 11, the segregation law of the Montgomery City Code, even though she wasn't sitting in a white-only seat, she was sitting in the colored section. She was also charged with disorderly conduct and violating a local ordinance. Her trial lasted only 30 minutes. She was found guilty, and she was given a $10 fine, and she had to pay $4 for court costs. Rosa appealed her conviction, and she formally challenged the law of racial segregation. On the day of her trial, December 5th, 1955, the Women's Political Council distributed 35,000 handbills asking for a boycott of the Montgomery City buses. This boycott lasted 382 days, for months. Dozens of buses stood idle until the law requiring racial segregation on public transportation was lifted. This was the largest and most successful mass movement against racial segregation, and it served to push Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to the forefront of the civil rights movement. In 1992, in an interview with National Public Radio, Rosa said, "I did not want to be mistreated. I did not want to be deprived of a seat that I had paid for. It was just time. This was an opportunity for me to take a stand and express the way that I felt about being treated in this manner. I didn't plan on getting arrested. I had plenty to do without having to go to jail. But when faced with that decision, I did not hesitate to do so, because I felt that we had put up with this oppression for far too long. The more we gave in, the more oppressive it became. And Dr. King, in his book, A Stride Towards Freedom, says, "No one can understand the action of these parks until he understands that eventually the cup of endurance flows over. And the human personality will cry out, 'I can take this no more.'" So I encourage you today to examine the world around you and take an inventory of